Yo, welcome to the channel. In this video today, we're going over the Magicka Dragonknight for the Deadlands patch. Let's get into it. Maximum health is 35.7k. Maximum health is 18.6. Magic recovery is 1.4 unbuffed. Spell damage unbuffed is 3.1, and spell critical unbuffed is 53.9%. Spell pen is 6.8k. Now keep in mind, I am a Briton. Britons are better for sustain, but if you're looking for more damage output, then High Elf, Khajiit, and Dark Elf are your three to go. If you're trying to push score runs and stuff like that, then those three would probably be your best bet for a racial class. But if you're just looking to play, maybe complete some dungeons and stuff like that, and not really looking for score runs, then you can be any race you want. So just go for it. But your stats may look a little different from mine depending on your race. So I have 64 points into Magicka. The boon I'm running is the Thief, and the food I'm running is the Ghastly Eye Bowl, or the Eye Scream, as it shows up on your stat sheet. So, champion points. Fortune's Favor, Gilded Fingers, pretty solid. Fortune Favor gives you an extra 50% gold from chests and safe boxes. Gilded Fingers gives you an extra 10% gold from all resources. Then we have Steadfast Enchantment. Basically, when our weapon procs, we have a 50% chance to not use that proc or that charge on our weapon. So it just kind of makes recharging our weapons take a little longer. So, ones I keep on my bar: Treasure Hunter, increase quality of items you find in treasure chests. Master Gatherer and Plentiful Harvest basically reduces the time it takes for me to gather resources by 50%. And this one gives me a 50% chance to get double resources from those nodes. So I just like having them. And then Liquid Efficiency. Whenever you use a potion or a poison, you have a 10% chance to not consume it. Now, so it just saves us some gold. That's all it is. Now, if you do not care about having Master Gatherer and Plentiful Harvest on your bar, I usually keep these on here because I'm usually farming while I'm waiting on groups or queues to form. Steed's Blessing increases your out of combat movement speed by 20%, and Rationer increases your food and drink buff by 30 minutes. So, now, well, let's go ahead and go to the rest. There's so many passives in this one, so the ones I keep on my bar: Balanced Vitality, Fortified, Rejuvenation, and Siphoning Spells. Now for the passives: Defiance, Tumbling, Hero's Vigor is a really good one to have, Hasty, Sprinter, Fortification, Tireless Guardian, Nimble Protector, Savage Defense, Bashing Brutality. And then this one, Tempered Soul, basically gives us 10% more resources. This isn't one that you have to have, but it is good as you get that extra CP points. This is a really good one to have. Basically, if you get caught sleeping and get dropped, when you get rest, you get 10% more of your resources. So instead of coming up and only be able to cast one, maybe two abilities, depending on those abilities, you can cast 3 or 4 and get your rotation going up again. So, really nice to have. In the blue tree, Eldritch Insight, Precision, Piercing, Flawless Ritual, and War Mage. Now, Fighting Finesse gives me an extra 10% critical damage done, so I keep this on my bar pretty much at all times. And then I also have Biting Aura, increase your damage done with area effect attacks by 10%. Mastered Arms, increase your damage done with direct damage attacks by 10%. And Thermometer, increase your damage done with damage over time effects by 10%. Now, if you can stay behind the enemy, you have a tank, they're not dancing with it, and you're able to stay behind the enemy or flank the enemy dealing damage, Backstabber is a good one to keep on your bar. But if you can't stay behind the enemy, then it's not going to do you any good. So it's better just to take one of these other ones over here over Backstabber. Now, normally, if I can stay behind the enemy and I put Backstabber on my bar, I'm usually taking off Biting Aura or Master at Arms. I have a ton of dots that I like to keep, so I keep Thermometer on. But Area Effect is really good as well. I usually keep it. Normally, I'm getting rid of Master at Arms. That's just me. Do whatever works for you or what feels best for you. So, now, for these sets, the first one, it's kind of a staple on DKs. If you don't do trials, or you know don't have that type of gear, Burning Spell Weave is definitely worth using. It's probably best used on a Mag DK. Uh, we're running an infused, not infused, my bad. We're running an Inferno Staff, precise with a flame damage enchant, and then we run Feet Divines with Max Magicka, Gloves Divines with Max Magicka, and Waist Divines with Max Magicka. Now, this comes from City of Ash 1 or 2. I mean, you can get City of Ash 1's a whole lot easier than 2 and a whole lot shorter. So it's probably best to farm this on City of Ash 1. And basically what this does, it gives us Max Magicka, spell damage, critical chance, and when you deal damage with a flame damage ability, you apply the burning status effect to the enemy and increase your weapon and spell damage by 473 for 8 seconds. This effect can occur once every 12 seconds. So it adds a 4-second downtime and an 8-second uptime. Is absolutely awesome. I think, I might be wrong. If I'm wrong, let me know. But I think it's close to 100% uptime for Burning Spell Weave on a DK. So that's just me. I think so. So back bar, we're running Maelstrom Inferno Staff infused with a weapon damage enchant. Basically what this does is our light and heavy attacks deal an additional 1.3k damage to enemies in your wall of elements. This comes from normal Maelstrom Arena. It is very easy to get. Might take a couple of runs, but 20 or 30 minutes through normal Maelstrom Arena, and you'll be able to get this. It might take a few, like I said, but it is worth having. Now, if you are not very versed in light attack weaving, then this isn't going to do you any good. Like if you're only throwing a light attack between every 4 or 5 abilities, or you throw down 5, 6 abilities and then you heavy attack a few times, this isn't going to do you any good. This is definitely one of those things where you want to light attack weave. If you're not light attack weaving, you're not getting the most out of this. And if that's the case, then you might want to put a second Burning Spell Weave Inferno Staff on the back bar. I would do it infused with a weapon damage enchant, just like the Maelstrom Arena Staff, but with that way you keep your 4-piece and your 5-piece active. It's up to you. But I would still suggest going to farm this, because it is better to have it and work your way up to it than not to have it, and then once you're there, happen to turn around and go farm normal Maelstrom Arena. No matter if you're just a casual player or an in-game player, or looking to become an in-game player, the Inferno Maelstrom Arena staffs for Magic users are still top tier. So, and it's normal, very easy to get on normal. It's worth having. Just go do it. Just trust me. Now, for the monster set, we're on a Maul Infernal, Light Helmet, and Light Shoulders Divines with Max Magicka. Now, this comes from Banish Cells 2, if I remember correctly. It gives us Max Magicka, and when we deal damage with a light or a heavy attack, you have a 33% chance to summon a fire-breathing Daedroth for 15 seconds. Daedroth attacks deal 2.4k flame damage every 2 seconds. Daedroth can only be summoned once every 15 seconds, and its damage scales off the higher of your weapon or spell damage. This set can crit. As far as I know, this can crit. I think the only monster set that doesn't crit is Zaan's, I believe. I might be wrong on that, but I do believe his attacks crit, or the Maul's attacks crit. So, but again, this is a light or heavy attack to proc it, and if you're not light or heavy attacking, you're not going to get good benefit out of it. So, with that, I would go with one of two things. You can go with Elambris. Basically, just when you deal flame damage, you have a percent chance to proc this big meteor shower of flames. It deals quite a bit of damage. 583 flame damage. We don't really have any shock damage in our kit, so you're not really going to get that procced. But that comes from Crypto Hearts 1 or Vaults of Madness here. Gives you Max Magicka, and when you deal damage to an enemy within 8 meters, you have a 10% chance to create lava pools that swirl around you, dealing 1k flame damage to all enemies within 8 meters of you every 1 second for 5 seconds. So this is kind of like an AoE monster set, where Elambris is kind of like a little 5-meter radius, and if they move, then they're done. I would go Grothdar over Elambris. That's just me. But if you're not light attack weaving, then Maul you're not going to get the most out of Maul. So go with something like Grothdar here. Very easy to get. Vaults of Madness on Vet to get the helmet, and the Undaunted chest to get the shoulders. So not very hard to get. And again, if you're not light attack weaving, then go with Grothdar or Elambris. If you are light attack weaving, then Maul will outperform them. That's just me. There's also, I guess I should show the other ones before I get ahead. There's also Valkyrie Scoria from City of Ash 2. It gives you offensive penetration when you deal damage With a damage over time effect, you have an 8% chance summoning a meteor that deals 5.3k flame damage to the target area and 1.7k flame damage to all other enemies within 5 meters. This can crit too, and this is pretty nice, but I've noticed lately for me, it's like every second meteor is the only ones that hit. So like the first one will hit, and the second one won't. And then it's, again, then the third one hits, the fourth one doesn't. Or the first one doesn't hit, but the second one hits, and then the third doesn't hit, and then the fourth hits. I don't know. And I've been lagging up pretty bad when I use this. I think it's probably because that effect isn't going off when it's supposed to. I've also seen them take meteor damage when there's no meteor falling. So I don't know what's going on with Valken Scoria. And maybe it's just some kind of glitch with the monster set right now. But I would not recommend running this right now. But once that's fixed, by all means, Valken Scoria would be pretty good. Definitely can crit, and it's definitely worth using. If you're not worried about necessarily just the flame damage, Nightmare's Nightmare is a really good set. Gives you weapon and spell damage, and every time you damage an enemy with a light attack, puts a bone stack on them for 5 seconds, up to once every 0.5 seconds. If 5 stacks and a dodgeable skeleton hand attacks your enemy after 1 second, knocking them into the air and stunning them from 3 seconds, or dealing 8.5k magic damage if they cannot be stunned. This is a really good one. Comes from Hollow Grave on Vet. Or Zons. Adds crit chance, and when you damage a nearby enemy with a light or heavy attack, you have a 33% chance to create a beam of fire that will connect you to your enemy as long as you remain within 8 meters of them. Beam deals 1.2k flame damage every 1 second to your enemy for 6 seconds. Every second this damage increases by 100%. This effect can occur once every 18 seconds. So, this is a monster set that cannot crit. So, honestly, I think Mjolnir's, Maw, all of them outperform this. So, but again, Zons and Nightmare are light attack weaving, so if you're not very good with that, getting that light attack in, then you're not going to get the most out of these sets. So just go with Grothdar or Lambrus. So, or Valken Scoria if it's fixed. So, now, for a second 5-piece set, we're running Zovgin's Warband. This comes from Frostfall. Honestly, especially with the way Medusa was, I like running these sets on my magic user because it frees up a back bar slot for either another damage ability, a heal, or a shield. That's just kind of why I like running these sets. That's just me. Do whatever makes you feel better. Whatever works for you. We're running it chest and legs, and the reason why we're running it chest and legs is because we get more resistances from medium armor sets for them being on chest and legs than we do for the, say, like hands and feet. So you're going to get more resistances here. So, and then we have 3 jewelry, all bloodthirsty, all with spell damage enchant. I would go 3 bloodthirsty here, especially on a DK. You can go 2 bloodthirsty, 1 infused if you want, but we do not have an execute, so I like having that extra spell damage near the execute phase. So that's just me. You get more spell damage. I think it's like 60%, 55-60%, something like that. So it's just better. That's just when it starts to outperform infused. So I'd like to have 3 bloodthirsty for that execute phase, especially seeing how I don't have one. Now, like I said, this comes from Frostvault. And what this does, it gives us critical chance, offensive penetration, and when you deal critical damage, you gain a stack of precision, increasing your critical chance by 170 for 5 seconds, up to 10 stacks max. At max stacks, you also gain minor force, increasing your critical damage done by 10%. Effect can occur once every half second. Now, with this and Medusa comes from Archcranium. It's probably the easier set to get. It is a heavy armor set, so you're going to run Inferno Staff with the jewelry, and it basically gives you crit on all 4 pieces, and then the 5th piece, it gives you crit. Let me rephrase it. With Medusa, the 2 piece gives you crit, 3 piece gives you crit, so it is a 4. The 5 piece gives you crit, and then also on that 5 piece you get minor forces at all times, critical damage done by 10%. So, but when you're going to run this with the Inferno Staff and jewelry, but the moment you bar swap off the Inferno Staff, you're going to lose minor force. And we have 3 to 4 abilities on our back bar, so we do have a huge downtime on minor force if we have it set up like this. At least this way, with Zovgins, we can put the 2 medium pieces on our body and run the jewelry, and then basically we will build the stacks up pretty quick. You can also run Zovgin's Inferno. There's nothing wrong there. And then just run the 2 medium monster sets. Like you can run the monster sets here in medium. It's not going to hurt nothing. Zobguns will be on the front bar, and even when you bar swap, you will still have minor force. It stays. Also, the difference between Medusa and Zobguns is not just having minor force up actively at all times. Zobguns gives you 1.5% more crit than Medusa. That's it. It's not a lot. So if you have Medusa and you're good, you can keep running it if you want to. It's not that big of a deal. It's just how you want to do it. Just keep that in mind. You also have Mother Sorrow for a crit set, and one that actually works very similar to Medusa that does not get a lot of love, I've noticed. It gives you get minor force from Medusa. You get minor force from Zobguns, which comes from Frostvault here. You get it here. It's the medium armor set out of here. There is an Overland set. It comes from Somerset, and it is called Griffin's Ferocity. This is a medium armor set too. It gives you critical chance, spell damage, and then after dealing direct damage, you gain minor force and minor expedition for 10 seconds, increasing your critical damage done by 10% and increase your movement speed by 15%. This is another set that you can run as well, and it is an Overland set, and it can work on magic classes as well. You will have to transmute the jewelry, or you can transmute the jewelry, run 2 body pieces, or transmute the jewelry and run an Inferno Staff. It is not that big of a deal. You will not get as much crit out of this as you would, say, the other ones, out of Medusa and Warband, or even just Mother Sorrow if you don't want to use minor force. If you rather use like Barb Trap or the Sigic ability to get minor force. But this is a set to consider if you are new and just hitting 160, or in that 200, 300 mark, and having trouble completing some of these dungeons on Vet. Griffin's Ferocity is a good set to complement whatever other Burning Spellweaver if you're running that, until you get your Warband or Medusa. Just keep that in mind. So yeah, that's pretty much the sets that I'm running. Skills wise, main one, Molten Whip. Lash an enemy with flame, dealing 8.9k flame damage. If you strike an enemy that is immobile or stunned, you set them off balance. Whenever you activate a different ardent flame ability, you gain a stack of Seething Fury, increasing the damage of your next Molten Whip by 33%, and your weapon and spell damage by 75 for 10 seconds. This effect stacks up to 3 times in skills with your highest offensive stat. Now, this is our main spawnable. It's the one that we use the most. So, Burning Embers. Slash an enemy with a flame, dealing 4.4k flame damage, an additional 15.8k flame damage over 14 seconds. Heals you for 75% of the total damage inflicted when the effect ends. Enemies hit by the initial hit are afflicted with burning status effect. Now, that heal from this can happen when it ends, after the 14 seconds, or if the mob dies. I don't think you get... you're not going to get as much of a heal if the mob dies in the middle of it, but for the full 14 seconds, you're going to get a nice little heal. So that is just something to kind of bear in mind. And then Engulfing Flames. Exhale a flame blast to enemies in front of you, dealing 6.7k flame damage, an additional 11.8k flame damage over 14 seconds. Effective enemies take more damage from all flame damage attacks based on your offensive stat, with a maximum of 10% bonus damage taken. Current value 10%. Then we have Congealing Blood. Draw on your Dragonic Blood to heal for 9.3k health, increasing by up to 33% additional healing based on your missing health. You also gain Major Fortitude, increasing your health recovery by 30% for 20 seconds. This is just a heal. This is why we have it here. For whatever reason, we don't have an actual healer in the group, or maybe there's just a lot going on and you're just trying to take some pressure off the healer. This is a good heal for the Dragonknight. It's part of our kit. It's right here in the Dragonic Power, so it is nice to use. I would use this one over Green's Blood. That's just me. So now, if you don't really care about this, you can replace it with Scalding Ruins if you have your mages leveled up. So it's entirely up to you. Scalding Ruins is a really nice ability to use. It's just, if you don't have mages, then that's not going to do you any good. So I didn't use it. But if I had to make a choice, I would definitely drop Congealing Blood for Scalding Ruins. Myself, when I have a trusty healer, that's what I normally do. So then Inner Light. Summon emote a Mage Light, revealing stealth and invisible enemies around you for 6 seconds. Exposed enemies cannot be returned 2 stealth or invisibility, blah blah blah. We're mainly using it for this second slot. While slotted, your max Magicka is increased by 50%. Or, wow, I messed that all up. While slotted, your max Magicka is increased by 5%, and you gain major prophecy, increasing your spell critical rating by 2.6k. There we go. So, then we have Fiery Rage here. Create a catalytic storm at the target location that builds for 2 seconds. Then lay waste to all enemies in the area, dealing 10k flame damage every 1 second for 7 seconds. Now, if you actually have your Mage's Guild leveled up, you can replace Fiery Rage with Shooting Star. You call a comet down, blast an enemy, dealing 15.6k flame damage to all enemies in the area, knocking them down, stunning them for 2 seconds. After impact, enemies in the target area take 4.4k flame damage every 1 second for 13 seconds. You generate 10 ultimate for each enemy hit by the initial blast. This would just be here for the extra magic recovery. And let's go down here to Mage's Guild. That would just be there for the extra. I don't know why those are not selected. Okay. It would just kind of be here for the extra Magicka and magic recovery for having it slotted. That would be it. We wouldn't really use it for anything else. The main ultimate that we use is on our back bar anyways. So, if you have your Mage's Guild skill line and you trust your healer, your bar would look something more like this. But, just to keep it simple, this is what I went with. Just for the test and the show. So, alright, you can even put Scalding Ruin on the back bar if you wanted to. Now, back bar, blockade of fire, slam your staff down or create a flaming barrier in front of you, dealing 1k flame damage to enemies in the target area every 1 second. Burning enemies take 20% more damage from this ability. This is a strong ability, especially on a DK, because the burning enemies take 20% more damage from this ability. So you definitely kind of want to work on keeping this down, because they're pretty much going to stay burned. So, eruption, summon a scorching cloud of ash at the target location, dealing 6.2k flame damage immediately, reducing enemies' movement speed by 70%, dealing 1.5k flame damage in the area every 1 second for 18 seconds. The eruptive damage can occur once every 10 seconds. So, Flames of Oblivion, activate an aura which flames launches a fireball at 3 enemies every 5 seconds, dealing 6.2k flame damage. While slotted, you gain Major Prophecy and Savagery, increasing your spell and weapon critical rating by 2.6. Ability scales with your highest offensive stat. Igneous Weapon. Charge you and your group allies' weapons with volcanic power to gain major vitality and sorcery, increasing your weapon and spell damage by 20% for 50.4 seconds. This is kind of just here so we don't have to use spell power pots. You can get away with it. So we can use regular trash pots instead of spell power pots. But that's just me. If you can use spell power pots, this is definitely worth getting rid of. This is where I would put Scalding Ruin there, and I would probably put Entropy on my front bar. I'd probably roll with something more like this if you have your Mage's Guild set up and you have a trusted healer with you. That's more likely what my bar would look like. But if you don't have all that, or you don't have spell power pots, this will work just fine. This will get you through your stuff. And then on our back bar, we have Harness Magicka. It's just a shield. Convert a portion of Magicka into its protective ward, gaining a damage shield that absorbs 8.8k damage for 6 seconds. Damage shield strength capped at 50% of your max health. While active, whenever the shield absorbs damage, you restore 192 Magicka. Each piece of light armor worn increases the magic restored by 33%. Effect can occur up to 3 times. Just a small little shield. That's it. Then we have Standar Might. Call down a battle Standar, dealing 3.8k flame damage every 1 second for 20 seconds to enemies, and applying Major Defile to them, reducing their healing received and health recovered by 16%. Standing in the area increases your damage done and reduces damage taken by 15%. An ally near the Standar can activate the Shackle Synergy, dealing 9.1k flame damage to enemies in the area, immobilizing them for 5 seconds. Now, this is the main ultimate we're going to use, because we're getting an extra 15% damage done. So we're going to do to them an extra 15% damage. That is the main thing. It's going to do some nice flame damage as well, because they're going to take 3.8k every second for 20 seconds. But our damage from our dots, all of this will do an extra 15% damage. Now, if you want to start, you can start with Fire Rage. That is absolutely okay. And then go into Standar Might on the second drop, if that's what you want to do. Like, that's not going to budge. But I can honestly tell you, Standard Might is the better ultimate. If you're just wanting to clear trash, like you've got a ton of ad pulls, like maybe you're god pulling a dungeon, so you've got 4 or 5 rooms full of ads, now all in one room. I get it. Use Fiery Rage. But on a boss or anything like that, Standard Might is your better ultimate. Now, something I want to touch on because I've seen it a lot. Dragon Leap. No. Do not use Dragon Leap. I get it. It's a lot of instant burst damage with this. You're going to deal 14.6k flame damage to all enemies in the area, knocking them back and stunning them for 2 seconds. And you gain a damage shield. I get that. I get it. Trust me. But at the same time, when your tank pulls in everything, has it all nice and piled, and you Ferocious Leap, that pile and enemies get thrown everywhere. And then some of them are now out of AoEs, and they can't be pulled for another 10, 15 seconds, depending on when the tank pulled them over. That CC timer. Ferocious Leap, just don't use it. You're not going to get anything out of it. You get more out of Standard Might and Fire Rage than you do Dragon Leap. Like, that's just being honest with you. I've seen it a lot. I had it happen earlier this morning doing a random normal. I was CP 600, and every time I'd pull them together, he would just Ferocious Leap, and the pile would be messed up. So, and it's just don't. Just please don't. So, damage-wise, DPS-wise, well, let me scroll up. I don't know what's going on here. We're just going to bypass all that. 35.8k, Burning Spell Weave, Zovgans, Maw of the Infernal. This exact bar setup for spell power. I was using this. So, not too bad. Pretty easy to do. 35k, 35.8. Definitely hit higher than that. Just depends on your crit. I didn't have my ultimate when I started this, and I didn't feel like hitting one of them dummies over to get my ultimate. So, if I had my ultimate when I started out, it's more around 38k. So, pretty easy. So, to get started, you're going to buff up. So, you're just going to hit, well, I might want to eat some food. There we go. So, you're going to buff up. Flames of Oblivion. You can hit this 2-3 times. I know some people are OCD about it. You can do that. Alright. So, you're going to take your regular pots. Or your spell power pots, depending on whichever one you're using. I'm going to use Essence of Magicka here. So you buff up. You're going to drop Eruption, Light Attack, Wall of Elements, Bar Swap, Engulfing Flames, Strike, and then just whip. You'll be able to fire off quite a few whips. Bar Swap, Wall. I go ahead and recast Eruption, Flame, and then if I'm low, I throw a heavy attack here because I still got 3-4 seconds on these other ones. So I just reapply them and then just throw out a couple more whips, like 2 or 3, and then I repeat the process. When I need to, I hit that. Usually on the second or third rotation, I have all my dots down. I have everything up. I have all this stuff going. That's when I will drop the Standard Might. So that way I have all my dots down. So that extra 15% damage is already going through. That's it. This lasts for 50 seconds. Most boss fights will last somewhere around there. So you will probably not have to hit this again unless it's just one of those where the boss teleports and stuff like that. Then you might have to hit this. Or if they have a shield. I know sometimes like the boss in Wayrest 1 where she jumps away every 25%. You might have to re-hit this once. But that'd be about it. Outside of that, that 50 seconds should get you through enough. When you start the rotation though, you always start with Eruption. The reason being is because of the fact this lasts for 18 seconds, this lasts for 14. I don't care about that extra 4 seconds. I don't. So I recast it. If you want more of a dynamic rotation, that's about as static as I can get it. You just recast this just the same way with Blockade. You just go through it. Same thing with this one. So Blockade, Eruption, Flames of Oblivion, Engulfing Flames, Burning Embers, handful of whips. Then you rotate, blockade, eruption, flames. You can throw in a heavy attack if you want, or another whip or two, burning embers, or engulfing flames, burning embers. It's not necessarily, see, this lasts 14, this lasts for 14, but these are the same thing. But for some reason why, there's always a couple seconds, 2-3 seconds left, which is enough time to charge up a heavy attack to throw out there if you're having resource management. Not whip it a couple times. It's up to you. But play along with it. You can throw in, like I said, if you have Scalding Ruins, everything works out. If you have Scalding Ruins and Degeneration, all that kind of works out on a timer. You know, you can get 2 or 3 whips in, turn around, repeat the process, and then 2 or 3 whips, turn around, repeat the process. Just depends on what you're running. The main thing with the DK is just keep your dots going. That's it. Just keep your dots up. And then whip in between downtimes, or a heavy attack if you need resources. So yeah, that's it. If you enjoy the DK, let me know. Let me know what you're running on it. Until next time, take care and have fun.